And
But I don't
will
mind,
see.
I can also.
No, no problem. I have both presentations. Hello,
Hi,
good
Joanna.
morning, Joanna. So I'm going to do this for now.
I will try to make like a pause so you can, just go on to the next slide.
Yeah, perfect. That sounds good. I am going to arrange my screens so I can see you as well. It's nice. We have more people joining.
Mm.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome, Julio.
Good morning.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm using mobile. That's
Yes,
why, yes, I don't want to miss the meeting that much. Sorry.
perfect, Julio. We appreciate that. Where are you joining us from?
Uh, I'm from Angola, but I'm John from France.
Okay, perfect.
Nice.
Welcome. Welcome to today's
I'm living
webinar.
in France now. Okay, thank you very much.
Great. Super. Let me see. We're also looking for Libe to join. Give it a few minutes. We send the link. Okay, so it's 11. Okay, Beatriz. I need to see the screen. Welcome to all the people who have joined now. Let's give us just a minute to start our webinar on the Introduction to Innovation Procurement, PCP and PPI. What is PCP and what is in for you? I think Libe is with us today. Yes, Libe is connected. Good morning to everybody who is joining today. Welcome to this webinar organized by Protect on the training on the Introduction to Innovation Procurement, PCP and PPI. What is PCP and what is in it for you? Today, we will have an interesting presentation and opening today's talk with I just want to find the click for the presentation. I don't know. Okay. Yes. So today we will start with a very interesting presentation by Liebe Voss, who is joining us today. Thank you, Liebe, for being with us. We really appreciate that. And I will share also your presentation, or would you like to share your screen? However you prefer.
If you have the slides already there, that's fine.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Then I'm going to do that now.
So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Lieve Bos from the European Commission, from DG Connect. I've been working on innovation procurement for quite a number of years. Voila, here are the slides.
Yes.
The first one has the big question, right? Innovation procurement. Why should you bother about this? If we look further on the next slide, you can see some first reasons why. Why is it so strategically important, and why do we keep on coming back to this? Well, there are so many challenges for which citizens expect an answer from the public sector. You know, climate change, problems with energy provisioning, healthcare sector who's under pressure, transport problems, all these things need solutions, and it's up to us, the public sectors, to provide the solutions for this. But many times when we look around what's available on the market, we see that these things are actually requiring structural changes in how we work, and they cannot just be solved with the usual existing solutions that we've been applying for years. So we need to do something new. We need to start buying innovative solutions, or even research and development if the solution isn't fully there yet. If you look a bit to the right, you see, why should we do this? Not just to solve these challenges. That's, of course, the main reason to modernize our public sector with innovative solutions that can deliver higher quality and more efficient public services to citizens. But of course, it will also have other effects. It will help industry to become more competitive if we are a customer that is eager to use their innovations. It can create high quality jobs in those innovative sectors, create new tax incomes for the country's exports. It can boost the whole ecosystem that is around this innovation, boosting also private investments in doing further innovation. And this shows that innovation procurement has a deeper effect on the whole economy, even on the wealth of a nation. You see there on the picture, you know, the mathematical looking picture there on the right, that if we plot the percentage that each of the different countries in Europe is spending on innovation procurement out of its total procurement expenditure, and on the other axis we plot what's the GDP per capita of those countries, we see that there is a clear correlation there, a clear connection. Those countries that invest more in innovation procurement, percentage-wise, more of their budget in innovation, also grow the wealth of their nation faster, become a more wealthy country. That's really important to keep in mind. We're not just doing this for ourselves, but for the whole country, in fact. And then if we look at the bottom, the question is, okay, fine, if we have to do it, if it's important, how much should we do? Well, how much is needed to make yourself a healthy economy, a healthy country? If we look at the left bottom, we see what do other healthy economies in the world do? They spend minimum 20% of their public procurement budget on innovation, 3% on developing, experimenting, testing together with companies what could work best to address future challenges, and another 17% on leading the way, being the first one, leading by examples to really deploy the solutions, becoming early adopters. And this gives an impulse to the rest of the market to then also start adopting these innovations. So keep in mind, we should be doing 20% of our procurements on innovation. And today in Europe, last time we benchmarked this, we were only halfway. Some countries are, of course, ahead compared to others, but on average across Europe, we were halfway. Are there specific technologies that could be particularly interesting to pay attention to, that could speed up this whole innovation wave? Yes, for example, ICT technologies. everywhere where you see the use of digital technologies, you see that they make things easier, faster, more efficient. Well, they can do the same in the public sector because they are catalyzers for quality improvement and efficiency improvements. So again, if we look at what other economies around the world are doing, how much innovative ICT should we then buy to be modernizing our public sector fast enough? Other economies are spending around 10% of their public procurement on ICT-based solutions. So that's around half of all of the innovation procurement that should go to ICT-based solutions in principle. Yes. Where are we today in Europe? We are doing 1/3 of that. We are spending around 3.5% of our public procurement on innovative ICTs. So there is still work to do, but keep in mind, do enough innovation, do enough of the two types of innovation, experimenting, testing, developing new stuff, and also deploying it. And if you can choose for a digital solution or a non-digital solution, the digital one will probably give you more benefits, even more quality and efficiency improvements. Next slide, please. So this is again a recap of where we are compared to the rest of the world. Oh, I see something went wrong with the text on the slide, but okay, we can explain. Yeah. So if we look at in the middle, you see that the United States are spending 20% of their public procurement on innovation. In Asia, there are countries even doing more, spending 25%. And in Europe, 10%. All of them are also spending more on both categories of innovation, on the public procurement of R&D and on the public procurement of the eventual innovative solutions, which we sometimes call PPI. So this leads to faster adoption of these solutions, faster adoption also of ICTs. And that's important because public procurement has a big weight in our economy. In Europe, public procurement is a big driver of the economy because 17% of our GDP is determined by public procurement. In Asia and the United States, it's less, it's around 10, 12%. So that's the difference here, that Europe is more dependent on procurement, but doing less innovation procurement. And that makes us double weak, let's say. We should do more because then it could give a bigger impulse to our economy. If we go to the next slide, we see the results of the previous benchmarking. On the top of the slide, you see the total investments in innovation procurement. So in both procurement of R&D and procurements of deployments of innovative solutions. Like we said, Europe was spending on average around 10% on innovation procurement, but you see there is big difference between countries, right? Some countries on the left are already crossing the line of this 10%, this average, and already doing better. Some countries on the left are still having to catch up, but basically nobody has reached the 20% yet. So everybody still needs to efforts to increase innovation procurement in their country. And also at the bottom, when we look at the adoption of ICT-based innovations, nobody has really reached 10% of public procurement going to ICT-based innovations yet, but some countries are already pretty close to it. Finland, Ireland, Sweden, for example, while others are much further behind still. And in those countries that are further behind, we saw that they're investing more in incremental innovations and they're a bit afraid to invest in the more disruptive innovations, while countries on the other side who are moving faster are more eager and more confident to invest also in disruptive innovations that can bring bigger and faster efficiency and quality improvements. So this is really important for countries to look at, because if you're too slow in doing this kind of innovation procurements, this will hamper European competitiveness on those technologies that are really strategic for transformation of the economy, like, for example, artificial intelligence, robotics, greening our environment, cybersecurity, and so on. All right, let's have a look at the next slide. Oh, why should you do something on this as a company or as a public buyer? And what can you exactly do? What are the benefits for you? Well, innovation procurement actually brings the story that we shouldn't only push innovations into the market, give companies and researchers money and tell them, be innovative, bring things to the market, but we should also then be interested to pull these things into real implementation as a customer and say, oh, that's interesting, I'll deploy it or I'll use it. The benefits for the supply side are obvious, of course. It opens up new business opportunities for them. Cooperation with the public sector can speed up their time to market as they get earlier customer feedback. It helps them attract investors and create new jobs and take technological leadership in strategic areas. But for the demand side, for the buyers, there are also key advantages. If you get involved early in the creation of innovations, you can steer this flow of what is being created. You can speed up the development or the adoption of innovations to your specific needs. You can make sure that they really improve those quality and efficiency aspects that you want most of attention to be paid to. You can make sure they address those societal challenges that you really need to solve. So that's the reason why both sides should really work on this, because it's beneficial for both of them. Let's move on to the next slide, please. So what is the Commission doing on this? Well, it's quite a full slide, but it shows what we've been doing since many years ago in a nutshell, from starting to promote it, to funding it, to trying to benchmark what is going on, creating European assistance for procurers to do innovation procurement, including it in ICT and other policies, green policies, for example, or health policies around Europe, and trying to get more political commitment for innovation procurement, encouraging member states to create strategies, action plans, and help their public procurers with capacity building to make it happen. On the next slide, you can see also what this has achieved. We do see impacts from innovation procurements. All this theory is also put into practice. So we see that the investments have really increased since we've been promoting it. We've seen that member states have created strategies for innovation procurement, action plans. Some are also have seen that they're lagging behind, for example, in innovation procurement in strategic areas like ICT, and have invested in increasing the ICT skills of their buyers. That's of course important. If you don't trust robotics, you will be not so eager to buy it. But if you know better how it works and what it can do for you, you will be feeling more comfortable to buy it. So that's really important to work on the skills as well. And some member states linked it also to their key national economic strategies, for example, green procurement strategies, digital transformation, and so on. It has helped also the companies. In green, you see there, it has been boosting business opportunities for innovative SMEs and startups, awarding much more contracts to them, quadrupling their speed of growth. It has resulted in more interoperable solutions, uptake of standards, because if you procure something, you can put requirements. So the public procurers can require from the beginning solutions that are interoperable and standard compliant. And also important, it has helped to start to reinforce our strategic autonomy of Europe. Because through R&D procurements, for example, we can require that the research and development is done in Europe, done by companies that are controlled from Europe, whatever. We can put requirements, which makes sure that we have enough suppliers here in Europe to afterwards also commercialize the solutions and reduce our dependencies from other parts of the world. And of course, it has helped address important societal challenges. And that we can see, for example, on the next slides. There are two examples here. The one on the left is about the healthcare sector, where a small startup was created specifically for an innovation procurement, for a pre-commercial procurement, started developing solutions to disinfect hospitals. Note this was way before the COVID crisis, because hospitals already saw that infections were spreading, viruses, bacteria, people were getting sicker when they went into the hospital, when they got out of the hospital and when they went into the hospital, and they needed a solution. The small startup created a solution that kills bacteria through ultraviolet light. And then came the COVID crisis, and this solution was needed all of a sudden by everyone around the world. They sold hundreds of them. The European Commission also bought these type of robots to distribute them to hospitals around Europe, and the company grew incredibly fast and is now having 75% of the whole robotics market in the healthcare sector. So that's a real example of strengthening European competitiveness for companies. On the right-hand side, you see another pre-commercial procurement in the transport sector, where the Swedish Traffic Authority wanted to get rid of CO2 emissions, fossil fuels, and thought, why can't we have these big trucks also running on electricity? We can have small cars running on electricity. Why not all these big trucks that have so much CO2 emissions? So they developed an electronic tracking system. I mean, they did a procurement to ask companies to develop it. Big suppliers developed competing solutions. They were tested on Swedish roads, and now they are rolling it out. The procurement to roll out those solutions is being done as we speak, and other countries also start learning from this and will probably deploy similar solutions. So big challenges being addressed through innovations that come out of pre-commercial procurements and helping also industrial growth and addressing societal challenges. I think that summarizes it all. Over to you again, Ana Lucia and the colleagues.
Thank you very much, Live. That was a fantastic presentation.
Oh, yes.
Anna's
Sorry,
here.
Beatriz, I was,
No worries.
yeah, I put my camera on. Thank you so much, Live. I was with my mic off, but it was a very important, interesting presentation that gives us a very concrete idea of the benefits of innovation procurement. You see in specific projects how it really triggers these many benefits for the economy, for innovation, for the improvement of public services, and yeah, the competitiveness in Europe. So I would leave the floor now to Beatriz. Sorry, Beatriz, I cut you on the presentation.
No problem. Perhaps if you can share the presentation, that would be perfect.
Yes.
When you can. Perfect. Well, so thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this workshop. So my name is Beatriz Gomez, and I'm part of the legal team at Corporate Procurement Services. So just a brief introduction of who we are, in case you don't know us. We are a consultancy firm on innovation procurement based in the Netherlands, and we are involved in several European projects, one of them Protect. And also we support contracting authorities across Europe in implementing innovation procurement projects. So what are we talk about today? Basically, we will start explaining what is public procurement. So from the basics to more accurate or more concrete concepts. Then we will move to public procurement of innovation. And we will also explain the two main modalities, pre-commercial procurement and public procurement of innovative solutions. Concerning each modalities, we will also explain how to use it, when to use it, and of course, which is the applicable legal framework. And after that, we will give some examples of these modalities, and we will conclude with some final remarks and lessons learned to give you an overview of what we are talking about in this case. Can you go to the next slide, please? Well, so thank you, Anna. What is public procurement? Well, when we talk about public procurement, many of you probably are already familiar with this concept. We are talking about a process in which a public entity, we can think about a government, a municipality, etc., needs to buy something from the market. So needs a service, needs some works to be performed, needs some goods. and in order to that has to contract with a company. So basically, we want to buy, or a public entity wants to buy something and has to contract with a third party, with a private company. And we can think, for example, about something as basic as a municipality that needs chairs. So I need chairs for my room, so I go to the market and buy these chairs, following, of course, a procedure. Or we can go to more refined needs. For example, I need to build a hospital, or I need to repair the roads or an airport. Or even, of course, we can think about what Libe was mentioned before, more innovative or disruptive solutions in order to satisfy our needs. So basically, anything we need to buy, we are using public procurement. What is important about public procurement? Well, basically, when we, us as private individuals, need something, we go to the shop and we buy it. Or we can choose with whom we are gonna contract in order to repair our house, for example. But in this case, we are talking about public funds and public entities. So of course, they cannot freely choose with who they want to contract. They have to follow a procedure. And in this procedure, of course, they will be a competitive environment in which several firms will present their offers, and we will, of course, compete in equal conditions. Why this is important? Well, as I say, we are talking about public funds, and of course, we need to ensure that public funds are spent efficiently and also honestly, not giving preference to any contractor over the other. So here is important to think that we have to ensure equal treatment and non-discrimination. What that means when we are talking about public procurement, that means that it's important that companies from several member states across Europe has the same opportunities to win that contract, avoiding, for example, that a government decide to favor national companies. So we have to ensure a fair level of competition. And that's also the reason why the European Union has regulated public procurement. We have several directives on public procurement, and this directive regulate all the aspects of this process, the procedures to award a contract, the requirements that the different supplier has to comply with, etc. But the main reason is that we have to ensure fair competition, equal treatment, and of course, the efficiency of the public funds as well. Yeah, also from the European perspective, it's very important to mention that, of course, one of the main objectives is to create an internal market. And this is linked to what I was explaining before about competition. So we want to have an internal market open to companies from all the different states. And of course, the public entity has to ensure that all the companies, regardless of the member states where they're based, has the same opportunities. If we go to the next slide, yeah. Here, I would like to mention the strategic role of public procurement. And this is very linked to what it was explained in the previous presentation, because we have to take into account that public procurement has an enormous relevance in economic terms, because it represents around 14% of the gross domestic product. And therefore, it can be used not only to satisfy the main objective of public procurement, which is buying something that we need, but also to achieve other, let's say, secondary or complementary objectives. And we are talking here about societal challenges like environmental issues, social issues, etc. And I will say that public authorities not only can use procurement in a strategic way, but I will go further and say they should do it, of course, whenever it's feasible, because not in every contract is feasible, but whenever it is, they should use this tool in order to shape the behavior of the public, of the private sector. Because of course, given the importance of public procurement, you put them in a situation that they say, okay, if I want to contract or to become a contractor of the public sector, I have to comply with certain requirements. And I'm thinking, for example, in the case of environmental aspects, we can ask them to comply with certain environmental standards to participate in the contract, or we can also require that the solution complies with certain conditions, for example, concerning CO2 emissions, etc. So basically, we can use this for different goals that are not directly the purchase of the gut, but are very related and, of course, help to address societal challenges. If we go to the next slide, yeah, now that we have like a general idea of what is public procurement, we need to buy something from the market and we need to follow a specific procedure regulated in the directives. We can also use it to address another challenges, environmental, social, etc. I would like to talk about specifically what is innovation procurement. So innovation procurement basically is based in the same situation, a public entity that needs to purchase something from the market. But in this case, the market has not a solution available that will satisfy my need. So basically what I need is an innovative solution. And I can buy the development of that solution or the deployment of that solution, with the objective of satisfying the needs that I have nowadays, that I have today, or also that I foresee that I will have in the near future. No? For example, if I want to improve the public services in order to provide more quality to the citizens, no? I'll say, okay, I can innovate this in order to provide a better service. So we can have this kind of different situations. And as I mentioned before, we talk about two main modalities of innovation procurement. We have pre-commercial procurement, in which there is no solution, and we buy research and development services to develop an innovative solution to satisfy my needs. And then we have, on the other hand, public procurement of innovative solutions, in which I already buy a solution, but a solution that is not widely available on the market, but is or available in a small quantity or very close to the market. I will explain further these modalities in the next slide. So, but at least you have an idea of what we are talking about. If we go to the next slide, yeah. Here, what you can see in the image is a technology readiness level scale. So basically, we have different modalities of innovation procurement, and how we decide which modality we can use. Well, of course, the first thing we have to think about is what we need. But we also have to take into account which is the maturity of the solutions that are available on the market. And for this, we use this scale, the technology readiness level. The technology readiness level of the solutions is a concept that has been introduced by NASA and also widely used by the Defense Department of the United States of America. And of course, nowadays is used in many institutions in order to determine what is the maturity of the technology or a solution. And as you can see here in the slide, we are talking, or we can differentiate 9 technology readiness levels. From a first level in which we have a basic concept, but still hasn't been even formulated, until a level 9 in which we already have an actual system that it has been tested and it has been demonstrated that it works in an operational environment. And in the middle, of course, we have all the different steps to develop and implement the solution. So when we talk about pre-commercial procurement, so we need to develop a solution, we are between a TRL level 3 and 8. So we have a solution that need to be designed, need to be a prototype, and need to be tested. But when we talk about public procurement of innovative solutions, we are already in a TRL 9. So we have a solution that we know that it works, but still, may not be ready to satisfy my needs. But it's already proven that it works in operational environment. If we go to the next slide, yeah, we can see here the IAFIP methodology step by step. So what is this? This is a methodology that has been developed in the framework of the European Assistance for Innovation Procurement Initiative, fostered by DG Connect. And this initiative, if you're not familiar with it, basically aimed at creating awareness of innovation procurement in Europe, and also support contracting authorities across Europe that want to implement innovation procurement projects. Well, in this framework, we have developed a methodology that covers from the very beginning of the procurement process, where a public entity realizes that it may have a need, but still has to explore it further, until the end of the public procurement procedure and even after. I would like to focus here on the 5 first steps, that they are the preparatory steps of innovation procurement procedure, and also the ones which we are implementing in the framework of PROTECT of this project. So how should a public entity proceed when they think that they have a need that may be solved through innovation procurement? Well, first of all, they have to identify that need. No, it has to do an exercise of thinking, okay, which are the needs within my organization? And of course, prioritize that needs, because it may be that I have 3 or 4 needs, but of course I don't have the resources or even the funds in order to satisfy all of them at the same time. So I have to decide which has priority over the others. Once I have a need, I have to see what is out in the market. I have to do a market analysis in order to know if there are solutions available that can satisfy this need, or they are not solutions available and there are room for innovation. And here we also are talking about looking for standards, looking for patents, also checking what's going on in terms of scientific research. So having an idea of what the market can offer. And once we know that, we go to the next step, which is an open market consultation, cross-checking the information that we gather during the market analysis with the technology vendors that are operating in the market. So basically here, we are on one hand informing the market that we have this need, and we may in the future conduct a public procurement procedure to satisfy that need, and also trying to receive feedback from them about the information that we gather. No, is this accurate or we are missing something? And also about the conditions that we have in mind for the future procurement. So, for example, this is the budget that I have, this is the timeline, these are the requirements. So see if the market accepts that conditions or not. When we have this information, we have cross-checked the information, the next step, of course, is to develop a business case to see if for my organization it's economically feasible to conduct this project or not. And here it's very important to make a comparison between the situation as it is now, which are the costs that I have today, and how will change the situation with this new project. It will save costs, or it will also involve additional costs. So basically taking into account benefits and costs of the solution. And once we have all the information, if we decide that there is room for innovation and we can implement an innovation procurement procedure, then we will start with preparing the tender documents and continue with the award of the contract, etc. But I think it's important to have clear these 5 first steps, because as I said, this is what we are doing now in PROTECT in order to prepare a future PCP. Well, now I'm going to focus, if we go to the next slide, in what is PCP, pre-commercial procurement. Well, as I said before, we use pre-commercial procurement in a situation in which the public entity has a need, but after making this work that I explained before of going to the market, research was going there if they are already solutions or not, it realized that there is no solution available in the market, and it's not foreseen that any solution will appear soon. Therefore, in this case, the public entity decides to buy from the market research and development services in order to develop that solution. If we go to the next slide, yeah, we can see that we are talking about a procedure with different phases. So in a pre-commercial procurement, usually we have a first phase in which different contractors at the same time design a solution, a second phase in which a prototype is developed, and a third phase in which we try this prototype in an operational environment. And it's important to pay attention that while in a traditional procurement, usually we award a contract to only one contractor, in a pre-commercial procurement, we award a contract to several contractors. Why is this? Well, the reason basically is that we want to have the maximum competition from the very beginning to the very end of the procedure. So we have to ensure that, if possible, at least at the end of the procedure, we have a minimum of two contractors. This is important because we are talking about innovative solutions. So we don't really know 100% what's going to happen, if the solutions are going to work or not. So it's important to have several suppliers at the same time develop several solutions. So we know that at the end of the procurement, we may have one or more that work properly. And also, it's interesting to say that this approach put pressure on the contractors in order to perform the best they can, because of course they know there are other people developing other solution, and they want to perform better and of course offer a better price to the contracting authority. I already explained the competitive approach of PCP, but it's also important to mention that in this approach, there are a risk-benefit sharing and the market conditions between the public buyer and the different suppliers. A clear example of this is the intellectual property rights distribution. As a general rule, the intellectual property rights that are generated during this procedure will be vested on the contractor. And of course, the public entity has to receive something in exchange, and it will receive a license to use that solution free of charge. So there is a risk sharing here. And of course, there is also a clear separation between the procurement of research and development services, the object of this procedure, and the deployment of commercial volumes of end product. So we have to think here that as a general rule, if the public buyer is happy with the solution and want to buy that solution, has to start another procurement, which is the modality we are going to address now in the next slide, which is the public procurement of innovative solutions. But before that, I was already too fast. I would like to mention that this approach, the pre-commercial procurement, falls outside the European regulation, the European Public Procurement Directive. I already said before that public procurement is regulated at EU level, but in the case of public procurement, in the case of pre-commercial procurement, we don't apply this directive. Why? Well, because we are talking basically and exclusively, in general terms, about research and development services. So we are not subject to the procedures of the directives. We have more flexibility. But of course, we have to take into account that we have to always observe the principles of the Treaty of Functioning of the European Union. And here I'm talking what I already mentioned before, the principle of transparency, equal treatment, non-discrimination, proportionality, competition. So all these notions has to be taken into account. So we have more flexibility, but still we cannot do whatever we want, of course. This instrument has been defined in the communication of the European Commission from 2007, Pre-Commercial Procurement, Driving Innovation to Ensure Sustainable High-Quality Public Service in Europe. So this communication defines what is public pre-commercial procurement and which are the conditions that has to comply with in order to be admissible at EU level. And in this regard, I would like to mention that we have to take into account, of course, the framework for research and development, but also very essential, the framework for state aid, because this instrument is admissible as long as it does not constitute state aid. Here we go already to the public procurement of innovative solutions. That is the second modality of innovation procurement. And if we go to the next slide, we can see that we buy or we use this approach when the solution that we are looking for is not already generally available on the market. It's only available on the market, perhaps in a small quantity, or even is not available in the market, but is very close to the market. And in this case, the public buyer acts as a first customer in order to reduce the time of this product or service to reach the market. And also, of course, to give some credentials to the product, because we already have a public entity that is buying my solution. In this case, we don't need to include research and development services for several reasons. It may happen that we already conducted before a pre-commercial procurement, so this is done. Or perhaps, given the maturity of the technology, is not needed, and we can already buy that product with some adaptations or modifications to adapt it to my needs. For example, we can think about a product that we know that is working in another field, but still needs to be adapted to my field in order to satisfy my needs. Or we have different solutions that cover different aspects of the need, but still we don't have a solution that covers all of them, and they have to be integrated and adapted. It may, in some cases, include a conformancy testing, and in this case, it falls within the scope of the European Public Procurement Directives. In this case, we are not talking anymore about research. We are talking already about a solution. And therefore, we have to use one of the procurement procedures that are listed in the directive. It's important to mention here that sometimes we talk about public procurement of innovative solutions as a procedure itself, but this is not correct. This is a modality of procurement of innovative solutions, but it has to be conducted through one of the procurement procedures that are listed in the directive. So it's a tool, an approach, but not a procedure itself. And of course, in this case, also apply the general principles of the treaty that I mentioned before. Yeah, in the next slide, we can see the prototype testing. The prototype testing is another possibility that we have when we are thinking about purchasing an innovative solution. And can we go to the next? Yeah, thank you. So a prototype testing basically is an approach in which I, as a public buyer, I know that there is an innovative solution on the market, but still I'm not sure if that solution will be perfect or will be suitable in order to satisfy my need. And I want to try that solution first. I don't want to risk to go and buy that solution and then see myself in the situation that it was not as good as I thought. So basically, in this case, we are talking about a public entity that goes directly to a certain company that has a solution and say, okay, I want to try your prototype. I want to test it in my conditions, in my laboratory or in my environment in order to see if it's good enough or not. And in this case, if we go to the next slide, we can see that, of course, we have to follow the directives, but we can use one of the most restricted procedures, which is the negotiate procedure without prior publication. This procedure is very restricted because, of course, it does not comply perfectly with the principle of transparency, equal treatment, competition, because we are selecting one specific company. We are doing a one-to-one contract. And that's in this case can be used because, as I said before, we are only trying a prototype, testing a prototype, but we are not buying that prototype. If we want to buy the solution, again, we have to start another different procedure because the only objective of this is to taste that solution and see if it works for me or not. Well, that was all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm going to give the floor to my colleague Ana Lucia that is going to present you some examples of what I just explained.
Thank you very much, Beatriz, for this nice presentation. I hope you get a clear idea of the two modalities of innovation procurement, pre-commercial procurement of innovation procurement, which are pre-commercial procurement and public procurement of innovative solutions. And I bring to you today 4 examples, 2 examples of pre-commercial procurement and 2 examples of public procurement of innovative solutions from the EAFIP assistant. These are projects that have received the support of EAFIP. The first project is on artificial intelligence models for water management. The procurer was Waterschap-Bedrijf Limburg, and they purchased technologies related to artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, and cybersecurity in the water sector. The second example is another pre-commercial procurement on the Moonstrom Living Lab on people flow data from the transport operator Steve in Brussels, acting as lead procurer with procuring technologies on sensor data, Internet of Things, machine learning, on real-time data in a geospatial context. This is in smart cities. The third project is on Smart Tech Saving Lives. That's a PPI from Smart Dublin. They tested and they with the purpose of purchasing Internet of the Things technologies for the network to monitor and report the live rings, also for smart cities. And the last example is the ambulance navigation and information system from RAV Brabant. They provide ambulance services, and the technologies they are aimed to obtain relate to cybersecurity, global navigation satellite systems, map applications, and encrypted communication. These for first responders. So let's take a look to the first project, VBL, on the PCP on artificial intelligence models. Here I bring an example of how they formulated the requirements, the needs that they have in a way that was looking for innovation. So they challenged the market to develop innovative solutions and algorithms to continuously analyze, measure values, and convert these into intelligence signals that will tell whether there was a change in the system in order to predict, for example, failures in the system and be able to respond immediately and use the data that they have that collected with sensors in order to know how the system is working. So they implemented a procurement on that was made of several lots and a specific one on PCP. So they have a lot on process automation, maintenance of the systems, a lot about security and the big data platform, and the PCP, the R&D. The idea in this project is that the R&D results were integrated already through value engineering clauses into the ongoing contracts on process automation, on security, and big data. In this example, I included some references and links to the prior information notice, just to give an example that for the market consultation, the project of VBL consulted the market on whether it was possible to satisfy these needs that they have on the water management chain, and whether they could, there were existing already solutions of artificial intelligence applied to the water management. And the prior information notice is a document published on the European portal on procurement in order to inform at European level that there's going to that a market consultation is going to take place, and the way in which this market consultation is going to be realized, whether it's about a questionnaire or it's about also a face-to-face event or a webinar. So different modalities in which the market consultation can take place. So in the case of VBL, several market consultations took place, and the result was consulting to the market that there was room for innovation and R&D specifically to assess and satisfy the needs of Waterschap-Bedrijf Limburg. At the moment, they function within the installations on the water management with ICT tools and with a digital twin that can help them monitor the different pipes systems in the region of Limburg. So this is an example. You can look into the Tenders Electronic Daily to see how a prior information notice is published and how this is important to have a wide communication with the market. The second project on Moonstrup Living Lab, here we see the phases of the PCP, and they put a special attention on phase 0. So the attention on the market consultation and the open dialogue before starting the tender, also to see whether the solutions were available in the market and to verify the findings that they have at the first start, because they realized that there were existing technologies for indoors and outdoor, but not a combined technology that could actually satisfy the needs. Also thinking about the possibilities of open data and open source integrated, and the possibility to share data with the different public institutions in Brussels in the transport sector. So in this case, I also share with you here the link to the market consultation, to the contract notice, so you see how these procurements have been published with the requirement on transparency and the way they are formulated, their needs. And here the link also to the EAFIP page, so you can see some of the results. This project is at the moment finalizing phase 1. I have started at phase 2. Let's go to the second, because we have a little time. This is a project on smart doubling. This project was interesting because they needed to test existing possible solutions that were applied in a different domain, but in this case applied to the monitoring of the lifesavers in Dublin and in the region, because the problem they had in this case is that the lifesavers were lost. They needed to, let's say, verify individually if they were located in the place where they should be. And this was costly for them, but also it was a threat in case somebody needed the lifesaver and the lifesaver was not there. So they wanted to monitor this using sensors and a network. So to use this kind of new connectivity that could be applied to satisfy this need and solve the problem that Smart Dublin had with the lifesavers. In this case, the procedure that was chosen was an open procedure in 2 phases. A first phase to test the different solutions, and then a second phase in which a group of contracting authorities in the region could buy from the contractors that were successful after the testing. So this was an interesting approach. It was an open procedure, as I said, but with the possibility to have a multi-supplier framework agreement that will result in mini competitions launched by different local authorities to buy from the different vendors the solutions that they would need. It was a different approach, and an approach that combines research, a little bit of testing, but also the deployment of the solution. You could see here as an example, you could click when you get the presentation to find out the contract notice, the contract award notice, how it was published in the different national and also European tender portals, and more information on the page of EAFIP about this project. We have another project on PPI related to ambulance services. The need of Brabant Mid and West North is to have an improved ambulance service, obtaining an end-to-end solution that would have several requirements that would use the navigation and information system in a way that the patient information is protected and encrypted and complies with high personal data and security standards. And in this case, they use also the type of procedure as in Smart Dublin, that is an open procedure with the possibility to test and have a framework agreement with different suppliers. At the moment, in this case, there are 2 suppliers that are already being awarded the contract and are testing the solutions for RAV. So now we have just 3 minutes to go. I will pass in these examples just to give you an idea of the different projects that are implementing pre-commercial procurement and public procurement of innovative solutions, some with results already implemented and some that are ongoing. And let's go to some of the conclusions. The first conclusion is that the European legal framework provides the flexibility and different tools for innovation procurement. The European Public Procurement Directives are fostering innovation, and it is very important that you understand when and how to use these different tools. We also saw that innovation procurement has two modalities, the pre-commercial procurement and the public procurement of innovative solutions, depending on the maturity of the solution, the TRL level of the solution. PCP is for the purchase of research and development. And the important thing is that procurement can be used in a strategic way to improve public services, to contribute to the economy, to strengthen the autonomy and resilience of Europe. The EAFIP methodology is a step-by-step guidance that can be applied to implement both PCP and PPI to achieve results. And Beatriz has made a good presentation of the steps of this methodology, but you can go to the EAFIP toolkit and learn more about how to implement the methodology and some examples of that. These are some lessons learned from PCP. These are some findings from the European Commission looking at the implemented PCPs, and we see that PCPs contribute to improve the quality and efficiency of public services because they deliver solutions that are help improve the quality and the efficiency of these services, and also procurers can obtain more open and interoperable solutions when they implement the PCP. Separating the PCP, the R&D from the commercial volume deployment and using a phased PCP has also several benefits. It's opening the market for small players and SMEs, but it's also enabling the procurers to steer the industry to meet their own needs from the demand side. And stimulates also the cooperation with research centers or universities. As Live also mentioned at the beginning, this also is enabling the use of place of performance clauses that create growth and jobs in Europe. From the point of view of joint cross-border PCP procurement, we see that this is stimulated the cross-border company growth as PCP is opening these markets and aggregating the demand on different member states. And it's also facilitated the creation of more open standards based on interoperable solutions. In the standard approach in PCP is to leave the intellectual property rights ownership to the contractors. That reduces the cost, the R&D risk for procurers in 50%, and is also encouraging the wider commercialization of solutions and vendors that can exploit the results of the PCP. Finally, the use of a place of performance condition in PCP can stimulate the growth and job creation in Europe. And with this, we have concluded almost on time with 1 minute from the time. Thank you very much. If you have any questions and still willing to stay a little longer, you are welcome to make these questions on the chat or open the microphone to proceed for your questions. Are there any questions, perhaps? Somebody in the chat?
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I have one question. We saw on the TRL slide the difference between the PCP, PPI, and also the innovation partnership. What are the main differences between PCP and the innovation partnership?
Okay, I'm going to we're looking at this. So we presented both pre-commercial procurement and public procurement of innovative solutions. We have in this graphic also the innovation partnership. Innovation partnership is a procedure under the directives that is bundling both research and development and the deployment of the solutions. This is a procedure conducted in phases that is regulated in the directives. The difference between pre-commercial procurement and innovation partnership is that pre-commercial procurement only covers the research and development, is a procedure that is outside the scope of the directives, has more flexibility in that sense, and it also has some advantages in the sense that research findings on the pre-commercial procurement can let us know that this procurement is fostering more participation of small companies and startups than, let's say, innovation partnership, because the deployment is also needed in this procedure. It is also a procedure, pre-commercial procurement, pre-commercial procurement and public procurement of innovative solutions in these two stages, making possible to mitigate some risks. And the possibility also that when the public procurement of innovative solutions is launched after a pre-commercial procurement opens new competitive possibilities to buy solutions, avoiding lock-in. And these are some of the benefits and the difference. I don't know if I answer your question.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Any other question or remark? No? Okay. So I would thank you very much for your participation, and on behalf of the Protect team, we would like to invite you in our next webinars. The next webinar also on PCP is on the 4th of April, but there are a series of webinars that will be held by Protect. So welcome to these training sessions, and we would like to see you in the next time. I don't know, Beatriz, would you like to say something? Or
no, just thank you again for your participation, and see you soon.
I think Liebe is still connected. So yeah. I would like to thank Liebe again for her nice presentation at the beginning and enlightening. Thank you very much and have a good day.